Hey, how's it going? I have some cards. Where did they go? Oh, there they are. And then, well, I guess I'm gonna talk, but the last time I was put up the last time I put up a video, they say you stop stuttering if you sing. The last video that I put up, I was talking about how I wasn't sure if I had lost my friend or not that I had previously lost, and had gotten back recently and was real happy about it. And so I did mention that I could just be freaking the freak out and that the situation was in flux. There was no situation. She was just doing whatever she was doing, but she contacted me yesterday, and today we've been talking, so that made me really happy. And I'm gonna relate a story to you that I told to her, that just something that occurred to me when I still lived in Hollywood and I was still totally on speed, so I was kind of on Mars myself. But I had a car and I had loaned it to this friend of mine who was the mother of some kids that went to school with some kids that were 2 years younger than me that I was in a band with, that I knew from my neighborhood, and I just wasn't in the same grades in school as them, so I didn't really know them. But because of my friends that were their age, they came around and I knew who they were. So this is years later, I got to be friends with their mom, and she was kind of on Mars too at the time. But I loaned her my car, and then every time I called to get it back, I find out she was home and then go running over there on foot. And then she would oh, she's coming, let me move the car or be gone or something. So that went on for a while, and then finally her son was yeah, she, every time she knows you're coming, she runs away, so let me wait till she comes back with it, and then I'll call you, and then you can come get it. So before that could happen, she got a sense of it or something, or she found out, because then she took the car way far away, way further than walking distance, so far away that I would have had to take a Greyhound to get there, and it was not cool, and I couldn't afford to get it out because it got towed out there, and then I couldn't afford to get it out, so I was real mad at her for a long time. But when I finally was able to catch up with her and talk to her, I was you cost me this amount of money. God, I was all mad. Well, duh. I was really mad. And so here's the thing. We both worked at this phone sex place as operators. I was not a phone hoe, even though... See, my job was to get the credit card number and see if the charge went through, and then they could talk to the phone hoe. So, anyway, like I said, I was on Mars myself, and I was in there on a Sunday night, and it's where the phone place was inside this publishing office, and what they published was porno magazines. So we had this room, and then there were other rooms that were people with light desks, light screens. I don't know if you know what that is, but it helps you look at what's going to get printed, what's going to go to the press, and make sure it doesn't have mistakes, or you want to add something or whatever. So there were rooms like that, and then there were rooms with presses, or I'm not real sure what he was doing a lot of the time. He had a bunch of machines. Sometimes it was a press, and then I don't know, something to do with the magazines, but that guy was real interesting to talk to. And then regular office stuff, and then all over the office were shelves with all of the volumes, because they had a lot of titles, and then they had years worth of it, and it was what was it, really low rent titles like, like 50 plus, 40 plus, 30 plus, if you're familiar with porno magazines at all. It was sort of that genre. Well, that was one of their lines. And they had a bunch, and I was biting. I'm not like a porn person. I don't like peruse the P word. So I would just be like walking in there, and there's just all these nude pictures and stuff. Like nude photo shoots would happen. They did a thing there, like Hustler, I think probably still does, where the fans write in with their fan fiction, and then with our magazine, like, I don't know what the prize was at Hustler, but I think you got to meet Larry Flint. So if you're into that kind of thing, woohoo, but the prize at our place was that you got a photo spread of yourselves acting out your porno story or something like that. Like, they got featured in the magazine somehow, that they were actually physically in it, and like everything was naked and sex in these magazines. So I guess that's what they were doing. But it would be like some days there would be these people that would walk into the office, and I'm not sure where they were from, but they were clearly like, wow, wow, wow. And it was like a really dingy, dumpy kind of a place. But I remember this one couple in particular were Southern, and they were like Indian people, like from India, working, and then me and another black lady worked there, and just like all kind of races, and like some South Africans were in there, and one of them was the manager, and they were both really loud. So, these people just walked in like, holy, like probably their first time in Hollywood too, so stars in their eyes. Anyway, one night, I was in there, and I think I had done a double shift, which you're not getting any sleep if you haven't adulterated yourself. And so when she showed up, she knocked at the door to be led into the office, and I was all like in the middle of some kind of thing in my head, and I was all, I'll let you in. And something about the way I said it made her leave. So I didn't know what to do. Like, I wasn't just going to leave the phones unattended, because you'd come back to work and then it'd be all, what the hell? Did you not let the other person in, or whatever, whatever. And so I stayed until the morning. So that was 3 shifts in a row. But by the time they showed up, I was making sense again. So funny how that works. But anyway, I had forgotten about that, because that was in like the 80s, the 1980s, and a couple of years ago I went back to Facebook, because I was bouncing on and off of there for a while. I don't think I'm ever going to go back though. Anyway, she turned up in my feed, and we've got lots of mutual friends and stuff, so I know that she was able to see that I was on there talking to people or posting stuff or whatever. So she reached out, and then she paid me back for the towing fees, and then like added interest, and I was like, oh my god, yay, how fucking awesome. Because that person is very much like the person here that I was so thrilled to have back in my life, because both of them just got, like, I didn't have to explain my humor. I could like start a story, and they could just catch where I was going with it, and we'd laugh so much, and I really value that. Like, that's like a rare quality in relationships, as far as I'm concerned. So, we talked a little bit, and she asked what I was into, and I was talking to her about it a little bit, like totally stuff I talk about here. So, supernatural, paranormal, woo-woo, metaphysical, like, all over the place. But like, to me, it's real stuff, and she also, through our mutual friends, knows other people that are also totally into this. But I said to her, I'm like, what, you didn't know that? Like, I just casually said something about something, and I was like, wow, you don't know about that? And I told her about it, and she was like, oh my gosh, wow, that's, like, apparently had never crossed her mind before. Whatever, I don't remember what we were talking about, but she said, oh, you know, what she expressed, like, whatever that was, awe, I guess. And then I was like, oh, cool, another initiate. And then I didn't really ever hear from her again. Like, she didn't talk to me again before I just recently left it. Hold on. I got two strains mixed up, and one of them gives you the cottons. Mixed together, I should say. So, I realized today that when I said that initiates thing, after that night that we had worked together where I got so weird, which she had to know it was because I was high. Like, she had to know that, right? Right? She's older than me. She has to know. Anyway, I was telling my friend here, I was like, I just realized, having said that to her, why I probably never heard from her again. She probably heard me say that and thought, that crazy bitch is in the cult. So we had a really good laugh over that. And she got where I was going before I could even finish the sentences. So that was fun. I hope everyone has someone like that in their life. Because when you get older especially, it is so hard to, like, make a dent with people. They don't have time for, like, literal no time because of family and other obligations, or I didn't grow up here, so I feel like there's even less chance of people that I don't know accepting me saying something kind of weird and not just being all, that's all with that one, never again. Hopefully that won't last forever. But it's funny, I had been, like, really thinking about her, my friend here, and then she said, oh, I was thinking about you, and then I had been thinking about her daughter, and there was something going on with her daughter, and I guess that's why I was, like, thinking about her, too, because I've known her since before she was born. And I kind of like her. She's all right, you know. And let's see. I'm just, like, kind of logging the cool stuff because I was watching YouTube, and you know, I'm on Substack, so well I've been muted by a lot of people or just plain blocked, so every hour, every time I go back, it's a different feed, so that's interesting. I'm getting used to it because, like I was telling my friend earlier today, the one here that I was just talking about, I have got to learn how not to take this stuff personal, but I kind of do, because I'm like feral. I don't have like a big social, I don't have a social thing happening, let alone a big one. It's like me and the cat, right? I mean, I talk. If he can't get out, he has to listen. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like a couple of weeks ago, I was complaining about his food, I think. And he's in the other room, so I'm not going to launch into, well, I'm just not going to launch into complaints about his food or dealing with it anymore, because just shut up. And you know what finally drove that home for me? Was him launching himself in the middle of my rant. He just like threw himself at my leg like a little linebacker with a little kitty shoulder. He didn't bite me, he just went, all of a sudden, because I saw him come flying up. I was like, what the? And it was just, I thought he was going to bite me or scratch me or something, but no, he just went, bam! He just ran into me like, shut it! Thanks for fixing me up there, kitty. I guess I need to stop that. So, yeah, just kind of taking note and sharing sort of the more lighter things in life that you could take note of. You know how I've been talking about crickets in the evenings? Well, they're pretty much evening animals, but I've still been doing that. The crickets are there, the frog is there, and they seem to have like figured out how to harmonize, because no one's like overshadowing anybody else in their music, which is just kind of interesting to observe. But this morning I was meditating, like I have my morning meditation, and I was sitting out there, but I was like kind of in the house, and I heard a cricket, and it was already like 9 a.m. and it was a bright, sunny, warm day today. So, you know, no crickets singing. I think that pretty much only happens at night. But actually, that's not true. I know they do it in the dark. Because I worked in this one place, there was a warehouse, and I'm in there peeing, and all of a sudden, I hear a cricket chirp, like, right between my feet. And it, you know, middle of the day, but I'm in there in this warehouse and then in the bathroom, so it's dim. You know, like they just kind of slapped together a little room. You could totally hear, like, turds hitting the water. Like, they didn't insulate or anything. So there's all these other people, a lot of men out there, knowing that there's a cricket in there. And I'm, you know, so I find it, my pants are down, it's between my feet, and yeah, because it's kind of dark in there, it started singing. It scared the crap out of me. The good thing I was sitting on the toilet already. And then they're out there laughing like they just knew. They already knew the cricket was in there. Like, you bastards. It was funny. It was fun. So yeah, just clocking those moments where you gotta laugh. I mean, there's plenty to laugh about. It doesn't have to be all misery and violence and victims. Like, that's always going to be there, but so is the other stuff. So the V's start getting too heavy, the violence and the victims. There's plenty of other stupid, educational, entertaining, whatever you're looking for. There's always that. It's still there. You know, you just gotta pay attention to that too now. You know what, that's bugging you over here? Pay attention to something else for a while. Sorry, I always say I don't want to tell people what to do, and that was just me doing that. Okay, so suggestion, or I guess I should say, that's what I do, because I get to be a nervous wreck sometimes, and it's good to have tactics, coping techniques. Okay. Oh my god, I have to like separate that or not use it before I'm gonna talk. Alright, so I have some cards from the Messages of Cosmic Oracle deck. And the first card is, I keep getting this, speak up and speak out, let your voice be heard loud and clear. And I totally turned away from the microphone, so speak out. Speak up and speak out. You can read that. Let your voice be heard loud and clear. Yes, we all need to do that on a personal level and on a social level, let's say. Because no matter what side you're on, I think the important thing is that there are so many of us on a side, and we're not really, like, what's the return on that? Like, is there a reason that, you know, I mean, there better be a good reason that you are, for instance, putting yourself between police and a building, or next to counter protesters that will use a car to move you out of the way, or, you know, take a rifle to a skateboard fight, you know. So there's a saying that people that tend to be violent like to use, or that like violent rhetoric. I've noticed, it's just people I've seen on the news and online for years now, and I can't help but notice a trend. But they talk about revolution needing sometimes blood in the ground, and it's like, what are we, savages? Can we not use our words? Like, is there enough of the V's happening right now that what's happening? Like, does it feel good? Is that what you want? I don't think so. I mean, most of us, there's some people, like I said, that kind of thrive on that, but let's outnumber them. Let's outnumber those people if we can. Okay, the next card is this one, and I'll have to just read it for you because, oh man, that is, my vision is probably making it not great. Oh yeah, you know, that reminds me, the last video I did, I noticed when I was uploading this one that the light is terrible. And I had no idea it was so dark in here because when I was doing it, it looked like there was white light coming up from the ground around me, and it just was bright and a little blurry. But there was nothing I could do about the blur because it wasn't like the camera focus thing, it was the light. I don't know what was happening. And then I saw when it loaded on YouTube, it's all dark. I'm like, oh, whoops. So, more light this time. Maybe it's because there was daylight leaking in. That always fritzes the light. Anyway, so the card reads, be authentic. Anything else is just existing. Huh. Look at this guy in the front there. I was thinking he was in robes, but actually it looks more like a trench coat with the collar flipped up. And they could even be wearing some sort of glasses. It's kind of reminding me of like Constantine. Because look at that long... Well, actually the long flowing coat is more of like a Matrix thing, but... Before I saw, like, this area, I thought it was just robes, and I was like, what is that, like a monk or a Jedi or something? And then I was thinking more like the Constantine, because this... Hold on, where's my little... Here, like, it's a rock formation, but it certainly looks like a Gothic cathedral also with the spires. Like, it's very dense of a building, so I'm pretty sure it's a rock formation, but I think the suggestion is deliberate. And look at the reflection. Why does this fog have a reflection? Maybe it's a portal. But look at this person coming the other way. They also, well, it's like a mirror. It's them. But that person looks like they're wearing a hood to me. It looks more like what I was thinking I was seeing in the first place. Isn't that interesting? You know, both could be like sort of a figure like a Jedi, because they're both like they have like a imperative that they're on, like they're doing something akin to a mission, but it's like their life, you know, like they live it, and what they do depends on their life and death, and then also like other people too, like for instance, whoever lives on the other side of this portal, you put out ripples, and so all of the figures that I saw are like good, like Jedi. Well, they're not all good Jedis, but I'm talking about Jedi that positively use the Force, because we have like a very similar setup ourselves. It's good to have like icons and archetypes that are inspirational. Okay, and the next card is this here one. The missing O'Hares are on the other side of that portal. Okay, so here, let me let you have a nice look at that. It has lots of like characters and looks like sacred geometry stuff happening. Oh, it's an astrological wheel. Stop, it says. Stop ruminating. Let me face the microphone. I need to be able to see it, though. Stop ruminating over what you did or didn't do. Let it go. I mean, anchor. I found that I'm like a lot better than I used to be when it comes to letting stuff go, like when it comes to something like a relationship. I can remember just being like somebody from a gothic novel or something, some tragic woman for like, and it was all just me, like I was the only one that knew all of this sadness and just woe is me, like tragedy, you know, my life was gray and blah, like it was all in my head. It was a waste of time. Especially when, you know, I was the only one in the situations feeling strongly, or even let the narrative get way ahead of where it was. Like, there wasn't even a potential for the things that I was imagining, because I just... Maybe I've always been feral, I don't know. I just wasn't meshing well. So, you can't, like, move on to the next thing and get better. I mean, you can, but then you're overloaded. You're dragging baggage, or maybe carrying it as well. Like, you're just, like, already loaded up, and then you got more stuff coming that you have to put somewhere, so you gotta make room. You gotta, like, figure out what you can carry and nothing else, because you're not a car. You don't have one coming. There's no conveyance that's gonna swoop you and all of your stuff away. You gotta just work with what you got, basically. So it's just easier, and then when, you know, the next thing happens, you can launch into your next tragic saga. You have room to spread out and be dreadful. I finally, like, dragged myself out of that. And I've been pretty happy that I found a way to get over this stuff shorter. Although the last thing, I didn't really deal with at all. And I know that's going to be a problem. So I've been trying to deal with it bit by bit. I just kind of laid... I laid a sound suppression blanket over it. Like a fluffy baby blanket, so it wouldn't hardly even know that it was being locked out. So I am not completely compartmentalizing that. I'm just dealing with it in increments. And I'm going to have to be okay with that, because good Lord, if I let it all go and tried to, like, just feel it all emotionally, I think I might be a mess. So I'll stick with this. Priorities. You know, I got other stuff to do. Okay, so how funny. Here is the next card. And it reads, remember that you can't change anyone but yourself. You know, I was having this conversation with my friend, and both of our understanding of sort of the metaphysical stuff has really grown and expanded, and she is more willing to sort of hear what she says and does, and at the same time, like, kind of locks out and denies, because she has abilities and stuff, and, like, I think they're kind of undeveloped, but they're just, like, coming out. She just had, like, a series of serious illness and surgeries and things, and that kind of trauma often cracks that kind of thing open, to where, you know, and she was already, like, she knew she was an empath, like, hardcore. She used to be a hairdresser, and I get it now, because its mind is stronger than it ever has been, and everything is exhausting. Okay, so, she was saying that she wished that her kid and her spouse would get into it with her because it's rewarding, rewarding and interesting. Hold on. And it ends up that you come across all of these links to things that were problems that you've had and didn't know what to do with it, or just mysteries in your life, and so much becomes clear, or a way to understanding becomes clear, and you understand so much about yourself, so much more. I swear it's like, in a lot of ways, self-therapy, but she was saying that they're like, no, I want nothing to do with it. And I was telling her, well, you can't make anybody get interested any more than you can make a junkie stop, which she understands because she also has a similar history to mine, let's say. But, I mean, who doesn't know an addict these days? And so, you know, like, what destruction they can cause in their own life, and by extension yours if you're at all close to them. And so for someone to stop when they're like that, it takes more than an intervention. It takes more than people saying stuff to them. They are the one that has to get through to them, and that's what's going to do it. And then all the other stuff is welcome. And so I was basically telling her, since you can't tell them, what you can do is make it look like the best thing ever. Like, gosh, I want that too. Like, so I was like, just make it look all good so that they want it. So it's something to think about, right? Okay, but yeah, you can't change anyone. But you can influence them, I guess. Okay, so the last card says, do something kind, and I added of nice. So do something kind of nice for someone without any expectation. Do we know how to do that? We do live in a society that pretty much makes, like, payment the law, even when it's not like a thing that you can put a law on. You know, handshakes and verbal agreements. You know, a lot of our language is transactional, so just saying. If you have a child, maybe you'll give all of yourself to them for nothing. In fact, you'll endanger your own life for that little person or larger person, whatever form you have. But it's something to aspire to, you know. You know how you can do it? Just a suggestion: anonymous donations. Or one-time donations. I'm thinking of, never mind, you're an adult, you probably know, like, if they figure out if you sign something or pay for something once, if you don't do it a certain way, they'll never leave you alone. They'll track you down for the rest of your life. Don't scroll away. I need money. Uh-huh. I get it. Can relate. Okay, I guess that's it. Be happy, if you would like. Feels pretty good. Thank you and good night.